Most of the time, it's not the world attacking you, it's yourself, your own mind. That inner voice repeating over and over again what you did wrong, what you didn't achieve, what you don't believe you can change. That voice doesn't need external enemies. And the worst part is, you believe it. You give it power. You give it space. You give it reason. It's not what others think of you that hurts the most. It's what you think of yourself when no one's watching. It's not what happens outside that steals your peace. It's how you interpret it, how you carry it, how you turn it into anxiety, guilt, or despair. But there's something you need to know. You are not that voice. You are not that thought repeated 1,000 times. You are not your doubt. You are not your fear. You are not that harsh judgment you place on yourself when everything goes wrong. The Stoic sages didn't try to eliminate human emotions. What they sought was to stop being slaves to them. They didn't aim to have an empty mind, but one ruled with firmness, with clarity, with purpose. That's why today I'm going to share with you 10 practical lessons to eliminate the negative thoughts that sabotage you the most. They're not magic formulas, but if you choose to apply them, I promise they can change the way you think and live. And before we begin with the first lesson, I want to invite you to do something simple but powerful. Scroll down to the comments and write, "From today, my mind will be my ally." It's not just a declaration, it's a starting point, a promise to yourself. Now let's begin. 1. Don't talk to yourself like an enemy. Talk to yourself like a guide. If your inner voice were a real person, would you allow them to speak to you like that every day? Many negative thoughts don't come from what happens outside. They come from what you tell yourself on the inside. That voice that keeps repeating, "You're a mess, no one values you, you're going to fail again." It's not a voice that advises, it condemns. It doesn't correct, it punishes. And the most painful part, no one else created that voice. You've built it yourself, little by little, repeating what others once told you or what you decided to believe. But here's something you can do. You can turn that inner voice into something else. A coach, not a tyrant. A firm guide, not a cruel critic. Think about how you speak to someone you truly want to help. If they make a mistake, you don't say, "You're useless." You say, "Let's see what went wrong and how you can improve." If they're afraid, you don't insult them. You say, "It's normal to feel this, but you can move forward anyway." That's the voice you need to cultivate. Not one that excuses you, but one that strengthens you. Marcus Aurelius wrote for himself, not to impress others. His meditations were reminders, calls to discipline. Phrases like, "Don't let your soul become a slave to your thoughts." He didn't say them as punishment, but as reminders of his own power. When you start speaking to yourself with respect, not with empty praise, but with calm authority, something inside starts to realign. You begin to believe you're capable. You begin to see yourself more clearly. You begin to forgive yourself without weakening. For example, if you made a mistake today, instead of saying, "I'm a disaster, try this. That didn't go well, but I can learn from it." Change, "I'm no good at this," to, "I'm still learning." It's a small shift, but it changes your direction entirely. Your inner voice can be your worst enemy or your greatest mentor. And that choice, though it may feel automatic, is in your hands. And if you feel this content is bringing you value, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to the channel so we can keep walking this path together. Here, we're building a community that seeks clarity, inner strength, and a stoic character. Now let's continue. 2. Don't believe everything you think. This is one of the biggest mistakes we all make. Believing that just because something appears in our mind, it must be true. But think about this. How many times have you believed something would go wrong and it didn't? How many times did you imagine the worst and later realized it was just an exaggeration of your mind? Our mind doesn't always tell the truth. Sometimes it just repeats fears, old beliefs, wounds that haven't healed. And if you don't install a filter, you could spend your entire life believing lies you created yourself. Epictetus said, "It's not the events that disturb us, but the interpretation we place on them." And that interpretation is entirely shaped by what you think. So each time your mind tells you things like, you won't be able to do it, no one values you, you'll mess up again, don't respond automatically. Respond with doubt. Ask yourself, is this a fact or just an assumption? Do I have clear evidence or am I just imagining the worst? Questioning your thoughts is not weakness. It's emotional intelligence. It's mental maturity. And when you do it consistently, something begins to shift. Your negative thoughts no longer drag you down. They still appear, yes, but you see them. You examine them. You choose whether to believe them or not. And that choice, repeated every day, transforms you because you regain control of your mind. And that is freedom. 3. The thoughts you cultivate are born from what you consume. The quality of your thoughts doesn't come from nowhere. It's deeply influenced by what you allow into your mind each day. What you listen to, what you see, who you talk to, what you read. All of that becomes building material for your thoughts. And if the materials are toxic, you can't build anything healthy. The problem is, many times we don't even notice. We turn on the TV and receive an avalanche of tragic news. We open social media and see comparisons, complaints, mockery, scandals. We talk to people who only know how to speak from judgment, envy, or frustration. And without realizing it, we start thinking the same way. We call it information, but in reality, it's mental contamination. Epictetus said we shouldn't expose our soul to things that deform it, because what enters stays, and what is repeated becomes belief. Try this experiment. For one day, carefully observe what kind of content you consume. Is it constructive, or does it leave you worse? Does it inspire you, or exhaust you? Does it connect you to your peace, or to your anxiety? Sometimes a small change changes everything. Replacing 10 minutes of news with 10 minutes of silence or nature, not checking social media first thing in the morning, and instead, having a quiet breakfast without screens. Listening to an inspiring talk while you walk. It's not about disconnecting from the world. It's about prioritizing what things you allow in. Think about this. If you constantly feel overwhelmed, irritable, confused, maybe your mind isn't failing. Maybe you're just surrounded by stimuli that are poisoning it. You cultivate what you nourish. Close the door to what poisons. Because your inner peace doesn't just depend on what you think, but on what you allow to influence your thinking. Every thought is a seed, and your mind is the soil. Take care of it. 4. What you don't control doesn't deserve space in your mind. One of the most persistent sources of negative thoughts is this: worrying about what doesn't depend on you. When you obsess over what someone else might think, you replay in your mind a conversation that didn't go as expected. And you do it with the unconscious hope of changing it, but you know you can't. The more you focus on what's outside your control, the more anxiety you feel, more frustration, more mental exhaustion, and all that effort leads nowhere. It only wears you out. Stoicism offers a simple but radical filter. Does this depend on me or not? Epictetus framed it like this: what depends on you are your thoughts, your actions, your decisions. What doesn't depend on you is everything else: other people's opinions, their behavior, the weather, the past, the future. Insisting on changing what you can't control is like trying to stop the wind with your hands. But when you apply this filter to your real life, something powerful happens. You're in an argument with your partner, and while your mind wants to win, to convince, to correct, you ask yourself, does what this person feels or says right now depend on me? No. But what does depend on you is how you choose to respond. You're waiting to hear back about a job opportunity. The mind starts playing games. What if they reject me? What if they never respond? There too, you can pause and ask, does this depend on me? No, you already did your part. What's left is to let go. And in that act of letting go of the uncontrollable, you regain your energy. Marcus Aurelius said, if it's outside your control, why worry? And if it's in your hands, why not act? A direct logic, implacable, but liberating. Imagine your mind as a house with limited rooms. Would you allow something you can't change to take over the main living room? Would you let someone else's problems settle into your bedroom? Would you let the opinion of someone who doesn't even know you paint your walls? It's time to clean up, to evict thoughts that only make noise, and to keep only what you can act on today. Because your mind is your refuge, not a dumping ground for everything you can't control. 5. Stop feeding the thoughts that sabotage you. Have you noticed how some negative ideas keep coming back to your mind, even though they've never helped you? Thoughts like, I'm not enough, I'm going to fail, there's no point in trying. These are phrases that, even though they solve nothing, have become part of your mental routine. And the worst part is, many times, you don't even question them. You repeat them, you reinforce them, you accept them as truths. But here's one truth that changes everything. Any thought you repeat without benefit is a form of self-sabotage. It's like throwing more wood onto a fire that's burning you. It makes no sense. Stoic philosophy doesn't seek to suppress what you feel, but to help you observe what you think, to turn you into a guardian of your own mind. Seneca said we must not let useless ideas nest in our soul, because if you give them space, they expand. So ask yourself a very clear question. Is this thought helping me, or is it just hurting me? If the answer is the second, stop feeding it. Imagine that every thought is a seed. If you water the ones of doubt, they'll grow like weeds. But if you water those of courage, temperance, confidence, you'll grow a very different kind of mental garden. Start by identifying the thought that hurts you the most. Write it down if necessary. And every time it appears, don't feed it. Observe it, breathe, and let it go. You can't stop certain thoughts from appearing, but you can choose not to give them power. 6. Your mind needs training, not blame. Imagine you want to run a marathon, but you never train. You wake up on the day of the race and expect yourself to give your best. You blame yourself for getting tired, for stumbling, for being slow. You tell yourself you're not cut out for this. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what we do with the mind. We want to have positive thoughts, calm, focus, but we don't train. We just scold ourselves for not having them. We criticize ourselves for feeling fear, for losing control, for not knowing how to act. Here's an essential truth. The mind doesn't grow stronger through blame, but through daily practice. The Stoics trained their character every day. Epictetus advised anticipating difficulties so they wouldn't catch you by surprise. Marcus Aurelius wrote phrases to himself each morning to remind himself what truly mattered. It was his way of sharpening the mind before starting the day. You can do the same. You can practice self-control in small moments. In traffic, when someone interrupts you, when you don't get a reply to your message, you can write down each night 3 negative thoughts that showed up and how you manage them. You can dedicate 5 minutes a day to observe your inner dialogue without judging it. That's training. That's how you build strength. And like all training, it's not measured by perfection, but by consistency. Some days you'll fail. You'll get angry. You'll think the worst. That's okay. You're not going backward. You're learning. Seneca said it clearly, difficulty shows us who we are. Each moment when your mind becomes unsettled is an opportunity to train it. So next time you feel bad for not having inner peace, remember this. You don't need punishment. You need practice and patience. Because the mind isn't reformed through shouting. It's shaped through discipline, through firm love, and through time. 7. Surround yourself with calm, not noise. Your mind doesn't live in isolation. It's deeply influenced by what surrounds it. And if you're constantly exposed to chaos, complaints, shouting, distractions, it's very hard to find inner peace. Think about this. If you spend time with people who only see problems, who complain about everything, who live trapped in negativity, it's almost inevitable that their energy will rub off on you. Emotions are contagious, mental noises too. But the opposite is also true. Have you noticed how some people radiate peace? They don't need to say much. Just being near them calms you. They're people who've learned to live calmly, who don't react to everything, who don't dramatize every little thing. Those are the people you should seek out. And if you don't have them nearby, start by creating spaces that give you that same sense of serenity. A quiet corner to read, music that relaxes you, less social media, more contact with nature, intentional silence. Seneca said we should protect our mind as we protect our body. So surround yourself with calm, eliminate unnecessary noise, and you'll see how, little by little, your thoughts become clearer, kinder, more your own. Because sometimes, to think better, you simply need to stop listening so much. 8. Stop reliving what no longer exists. Do you know how many times a day your mind returns to the past without you even noticing? You relive old conversations, reopen wounds, reinterpret what already happened, searching for blame, mistakes, or explanations that never arrive. And just like that, without realizing it, you feed thoughts that have no future, because they belong to something that already passed, something that no longer exists. But your body lives it again. Your heart races, your emotions get stirred, your peace is broken, all because of a memory. Seneca explained it masterfully. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And the past, when it becomes obsession, is nothing more than a destructive form of imagination. That doesn't mean ignoring what you lived. On the contrary, it means learning to give it its proper place. If there's something that needs healing, heal it. If there's something you must correct, correct it. But if you can't change it anymore, let it go. Imagine carrying a backpack full of stones. Each negative thought from the past is another stone inside. How much more do you want to carry? How much energy do you want to keep spending reliving what cannot be redone? You are not that broken conversation. You are not that mistake. You are not the old version of yourself who failed. You are the one who decides today whether to keep dragging that weight or allow yourself to move forward. Now, when your mind returns to what was, ask yourself, does this help me grow or does it hold me back? Am I learning or punishing myself? Am I remembering or ruminating? Stopping the habit of reliving the past is not a lack of memory. It is self-love. It's choosing mental freedom over self-punishment. And that decision, taken again and again, is the true beginning of your inner peace. 9. Not every thought deserves your attention. A mind without a filter is like a broken radio. Everything plays at once, everything demands your energy, and nothing is truly understood. We tend to believe that if a thought appears in our head, we must pay attention to it. But that's like saying every advertisement deserves your money. No, appearance is not the same as worth. Your mind produces thousands of thoughts a day, some useful, some absurd, some constructive, many destructive, and not all of them need to stay. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: your soul becomes dyed with the color of your thoughts. Do you want your soul to be colored by fear, judgment, self-criticism, or by clarity, temperance, and direction? The key is to observe without absorbing. Imagine you're in a mental waiting room. Thoughts walk in like people. Some bring anxiety, others complaints, others are fleeting ideas. You look at them and choose which ones you want to engage with. At first, it's difficult because you're so used to reacting to everything you think that you believe that's what it means to be authentic. But authenticity is not impulsiveness. It's knowing how to choose which thought represents you and which does not. So next time you think, I'm not good at this is going to go badly, what if they laugh at me? Pause. Don't respond. Just observe, as if that thought were a cloud passing by, as if it weren't you, but something you're witnessing. And then, calmly, decide whether to adopt it or let it go. Because not everything your mind produces is true, or useful, or necessary. And having that filter is a form of freedom very few people practice. Close code Wally the Sugwas code, the idea that one or 10. Make calm a daily practice, not an exception. What if inner peace isn't something you find, but something you build? Many people look for calm as if it were a reward that appears once everything is okay. Once this phase ends, once I solve this problem, once everything is in order, then I'll finally be at peace. But what the Stoics taught was the opposite. Calm doesn't depend on the circumstances, but on daily training. Marcus Aurelius lived through war, plagues, political betrayals, and personal losses, yet every morning, he wrote for himself phrases that reminded him of what truly mattered. It was his way of building an inner refuge, That calm wasn't a miracle, it was a practice, a commitment, a habit, and you can do the same. You don't have to wait until everything is perfect. You can start today with small rituals that train your mind to return to its center again and again. A moment of silence before starting the day, a deep breath before responding to criticism, a walk without your phone, a night without external stimuli, a written reminder, not everything deserves my energy. You don't need a complex routine, just consistency, just intention. Because the mind, like any part of the body, needs training. And if you do a little every day to protect your calm, that calm will grow. It will become more accessible, stronger, more yours. And one day, in the midst of chaos, you won't need to look for peace, because you'll already have it within you. Not as a prize, but as a habit you've cultivated. Make your peace a practice, not an exception reserved for perfect days. Because those days, if they ever come, will be more the result of your internal state than of anything that happens outside. If you've made it this far, that already says a lot. Because not everyone is willing to look inward. Not everyone is willing to recognize that many times, our strongest enemy isn't the world, but ourselves. Today, you've seen that your thoughts are not facts, that you can choose which ones to feed, that calm is not a gift, but a training, that letting go of what you can't control is one of the purest forms of freedom. And most importantly, you've remembered you are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes them, who questions them, who decides. Today, I invite you not to let these teachings stay only in this video. Choose the one strategy that resonated with you most, and practice it this week. Write it down, stick it on your mirror, make it part of your day. And if this content has brought you value, I'd be grateful if you liked the video, shared it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe to the channel so we can keep growing together. Because every video on this channel is designed as one piece of a bigger puzzle, a puzzle that, little by little, helps you build a mind that is clearer, stronger, and freer. And if you've come this far, you're already a part of that. See you in the next video, where we'll explore another Stoic key to transform the way you think and live. Until then, keep cultivating your Stoic character.